Hi everyone and welcome. Here are the list of top 10 best TV shows of all time according to the Rolling Stones. Number 10. The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Along with Cheers, it's the gold standard for ensemble comedy, blending sparkling dialogue with unexpected heart and a cast of actors who seemed born to trade punchlines with one another. 4 years after the end of her beloved run on The Dick Van Dyke Show, Mary Tyler Moore returned to TV as both producer and star of this trailblazing series about a single woman reinventing herself in a new city, with new friends, Valerie Harper's brassy Rhoda, Cloris Leachman's self-absorbed Phyllis, new co-workers, Ed Asner's crabby Lou, Gavin MacLeod's witty Murray, Ted Knight's dim Ted Baxter, and a belief that she was gonna make it, after all. Like Lucille Ball before her, Moore used the show's success to build her own TV production empire, responsible for other shows on this list, like Hill Street Blues. If the episode where Mary Richards struggles to not laugh at the funeral for Chuckles the Clown isn't the funniest half hour ever, it is on a very short list. Number 9. Atlanta. After years on Community as white America's favorite black guy, Donald Glover Code switched to create and star in Atlanta, a show that freely sheds its own identity. One week, it can be a broad comedy about Al, Brian Tyree Henry, suffering the dumbest day of his life in an attempt to get a good haircut. The next, it's a chilling haunted house story about racial self-loathing. It can have Al, Ern, Glover, and Darius, Lakeith Stanfield, have surreal adventures in the titular city, and it can send Ern's ex-fan, Zazie Beetz, to Paris to savagely beat up a Frenchman with a stale loaf of bread while supplying a banquet for wealthy cannibals. No show should be able to do so many radically different things as well as Atlanta does routinely. Number 8. Cheers. It's the night before my wedding, and I'm in the middle of a sweat contest. Diane Chambers, Shelley Long, laments when she finds herself stuck at the titular Boston bar in the classic sitcom's debut episode. But in those early seasons where the clever, pretentious, and fragile Diane was locked in an endless cycle of makeouts and breakups with cocky ex-jock bartender Sam Malone, Ted Danson, Cheers never let you see it sweat, as it effortlessly rewrote the book on TV romance, creating the will they or won't they template seen decades later with couples like Jim and Pam on The Office. Joke-wise, it had a far higher batting average than any player who ever faced off against Sam when he pitched for the Red Sox. Whatever sparked the show lost when Long exited to make movies, to be replaced by Kirstie Alley's more desperate and pathetic Rebecca, it compensated by leaning more heavily on one of the greatest collections of goofballs ever, including Kelsey Grammer's pompous shrink Frasier Crane, eventually to get his own classic spin-off, Rhea Perlman's hostile waitress Carla, Woody Harrelson's guileless bartender Woody, John Ratzenberger's insufferable know-it-all mailman Cliff, and George Vent's professional barfly Norman Peterson, or, as he's known to the gang at Cheers, Norm. Number 7. Mad Men. What you're reading here isn't a blurb. It's a time machine, taking us back to a place. In this case, the 7 seasons in which we followed mysterious, charismatic 60s ad exec Don Draper, John Hamm, and his irrepressible protege Peggy Olson, Elizabeth Moss, where we ache to go again. A darkly funny workplace drama, a lavishly detailed chronicle of social change across one of the most turbulent decades of American history, and a nuanced character study of Don, Peggy, the indomitable Joan, Christina Hendricks, silver-tongued Roger, John Slattery, and a host of other unforgettable figures. What would TV be like without it? Not great, Bob. Number 6. Seinfeld. When comedian Jerry Seinfeld and his neurotic, self-destructive best friend George Costanza, Jason Alexander, are developing a sitcom based on Jerry's life in Seinfeld Season 4, George describes it as a show about nothing. The fictional head of NBC they pitch it to wonders why anyone would watch that. His real-life counterparts had no such questions, as Seinfeld became a phenomenon, and one of the most influential comedies ever, though its obsession with the minutiae of everyday life, double-dipping chips, regifting presents, the unsentimental, hugging, no learning, mantra of Seinfeld and though creator Larry David, its collection of New York characters like the Soup Nazi and George Steinbrenner, voiced by David, and the explosive comic chemistry among Seinfeld, Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it's Jerry's judgmental ex-girlfriend Elaine Benes, and Michael Richards, as his shiftless, gregarious neighbor Cosmo Kramer. Impeccably designed and endlessly quotable, like when the famous episode, The Contest, defined abstaining from masturbation as being master of your domain. Number 5. Fleabag. Sure, it's rewarding when a TV show can provide dozens of hours of mirth across many seasons. Sometimes, Though, the most satisfying experience comes from series that have a few things to say them perfectly, and then shake their heads and walk away before you can follow them into less interesting story arcs. Never has that short and sweet approach been more impeccably executed than with Phoebe Waller-Bridge's tragicomic tour de force, where she played a self-destructive woman so lonely that her healthiest relationships were with her unseen television audience, and with the hot priest, Andrew Scott, with whom she fell madly in lust in the second season. And whether she was talking directly to us or not, in TV's best ever use of breaking the fourth wall, Waller-Bridge held the audience in the palm of her hand throughout. She made Fleabag as raunchy, as funny, and as sad, sometimes more than one of those at the same time, as she wanted it to be. And then she said goodbye. Number 4, The Wire. Whenever you hear a contemporary showrunner refer to their work as a novel for television, or a 10-hour movie, odds are they spent a lot of time watching David Simon and Ed Burns' drama and mistakenly assumed that it would be easy to copy. It was an urban epic that gradually touched every corner of its fictionalized Baltimore, from cops and drug dealers to middle school students and politicians. The Wire preached that all the pieces matter, then put the concept into action, so that the slow pacing and narrative sprawl made all the show's tragedies, visited upon one of the most amazing casts of characters ever assembled, from ambitious drug dealer Stringer Bell, Idris Elba, down to sweet junkie Bubbles, Andre Royo, and stick-up artist Omar Little, Michael Kenneth Williams, and all of its criticisms of the state of modern America, hit harder each time. Often imitated, never duplicated, not even by Simon on impressive follow-ups like Treme or The Deuce. As D'Angelo Barksdale, Larry Gilead Jr., puts it while using chess as a metaphor for the drug game, the king stayed a king. Number 3, Breaking Bad. High school teacher Walter White, Bryan Cranston, tells his students that he likes to think of chemistry as a study of change, which conveniently is the major theme of the crime saga built around him. No series before or since has taken better advantage of the medium's ability to track a character's journey over a long period of time, while also crafting the kind of memorable individual installments that distinguish TV from movies. Breaking Bad travels step by agonizing step through Walt's journey from lower-middle-class breadwinner to lord of his own crystal meth empire, where he's alternately helped and hurt along the way by former student Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul, criminal lawyer Saul Goodman, Bob Odenkirk, calculating kingpin Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito, and even his own victimized wife Skylar, Anna Gunn. And the series is only as thrilling and as devastating as it is because it keeps methodically showing you how Walt and the others got from there to here. Number 2, The Simpsons. What is there left to say about the best, longest-running, most influential, most acclaimed TV comedy of them all? Krusty the Clown, before spitting in disgust, acclaimed? Should we offer loopy quotes at random, like when Abe Simpson had an onion on his belt, which was the style at the time? Should we push back against the bogus sentiment that The Simpsons hasn't been funny in decades, since even in its 32nd season, it was able to put together an episode as sharp as the comic book guy-focused Wes Anderson tribute? Talk about Homer Simpson as an avatar of all that is great and terrible about the American male. Marvel at the wide range of tones and subjects it's made room for, such that the poignant, "You are Lisa Simpson," scene from the end of Lisa's Substitute, belongs on the same show where Homer went into space with NASA or once asked George Harrison where the quiet Beatle got his brownie. Hum a few bars of the Monorail song. Start ranking all of the guest stars, from Phil Hartman all the way down to the guy from Joe Millionaire. Or should we just admit that after all these years, The Simpsons' genius speaks for itself? Coming at number 1, The Sopranos, the winner, and still undisputed champion, from North Caldwell, New Jersey. Coming in heavy at 86 medium transforming episodes filled with whacking, psychiatric analysis, and cunnilingus and fart jokes, it's The Sopranos. Of course David Chase's creation topped the list again, because we are still living in the new world of television ushered in by mob boss Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini. As Dr. Melfi, Lorraine Bracco, helped Tony better understand himself and his relationships with wife Carmela, Edie Falco, mother Livia, Nancy Marchand, nephew Christopher, Michael Imperioli, and the dangerous idiots in his crew, Chase's unapologetically dark examination of turn-of-the-century America took a torch to every written and unwritten rule that TV storytelling had been governed by since the days of Gunsmoke. Simplicity and holding the audience's hand were out, and narrative and moral complexity were in, all the way through a final edit that we still can't stop. Thanks for watching.